Douglas Murray made an absolutely brilliant point here that shows the hypocrisy of the anti-British, anti-Western woke left.
In this country, certainly, the native population, or certainly the longest living here native population, they are the oppressors. And you know that all of this is about this oppress dynamic. So your argument in their world doesn't work.
Well, the girls in Rotherham and everyone everywhere else in Britain who were raped by the thousands by Pakistani rape gangs in the last 20 years were not the oppressors, were they?
They are forever banging on about how the indigenous peoples own the land and the Europeans who came later should, if not be deported, at the very least be discriminated against and have their customs and culture destroyed.
They basically fall into two groups. They talk in terms of occupation, colonizers, apartheid. And this is the Americanized racial justice version of this mapped onto the Middle East. That the Israelis are colonizers, for instance, and that they're indigenous peoples, and that the Palestinians are indigenous peoples, despite there being Jews in the land many years before anyone even came up with the term Palestinian, which is a disputed term anyway. So they come up with this idea, for instance, that they're indigenous people who were moved out. The Palestinians are indigenous people, and they were moved out by the Jews, the Israelis, the Zionists. And this version is, of course, a replay of that version of American history, which is there were the Edenic first populations of America, the indigenous peoples, and then people from Europe came, the wicked Spanish and Italians and Portuguese and the French and even the British come and do their thing. And so they just put this version of history onto the Middle East. To those people, I would say, fine, you can do that if you want. Now let's do Britain. Want to play that game? You sure? You better not get the British started. But that's
Tell me more, Douglas. What do you mean?
You want to play the indigenous people own the land first game and the other people should fuck off? Well, it's 60 years of mass migration into the UK. Who are the indigenous peoples of the UK? People who've been here the longest. Who are the settlers? Who are the illegal settlers in Britain? Oh, well, that would be the people who've arrived. Does anyone want to go there?
Well,
there has been and still is sustained mass immigration into Britain that the people didn't vote for and is changing the country in ways they do not want. If people are saying that about indigenous populations around the world, including Palestine, then they completely legitimise that argument being applied to Britain. But of course, most Brits do not believe in that worldview, and that is simply because we are not as extreme and, most importantly, not motivated by hatred. It shows the hate-filled left couldn't give a damn about the indigenous peoples around the world. They just hate the indigenous peoples of European countries. This was perfectly put and exposed by Murray. Thank you for watching.